Hello crafters, I am so glad that you're here with me today. If you are already a subscriber to Carrie Lee Creations, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. If you are not a subscriber, do go ahead and click that subscribe button. Of course, it's always great. The more you thumbs up, comment, all of that kind of thing helps distribute my content. So it's much appreciated when you do those kinds of things. So, okay. Many of you know that a couple weekends ago I went to Fort Myers, Florida to attend the Whimsy workshop. And I've got to tell you, it was the most fantastic retreat I have ever been on. The value that you received was just incredible. We did multiple classes, and in each class you did like 3 to 4 cards, and then there were like 10 make and takes every single day. So I came home with so much product and so much cards. And anyway, while I was there, I won a door prize. So today's project, I am using everything that I received in my door prize bundle. So let's go ahead and change the camera view and take a look at that. All right, so here's the card that I made with my door prize. I had so much fun doing this card. I created a watercolor background that is splattered with different shades of gold. And I've colored up my little happy camping girl. And it also came with a die set for the happy camper and the tent. And then I pulled in some sentiments from another Whimsy stamp set that I own. So let's take a look at those products real quick. So here is the stamp set that I received, and it came with the stamps and the dies. And I believe this one, let's look here, it's called the Happy Camper Girl. So there's also a Happy Camper Boy, and they both kind of have they kind of have a scout look, like a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, but you can definitely use them for things other than Boy Scout and Girl Scout. Then it also, my prize package also came with this cute little Happy Camper set, die set. And then the star of the show over here, I got to tell you, this is so fun. It is a dragonfly slimline background, and this was just a beautiful piece. It die cut lovely, so I wanted to share that. I couldn't wait to get home and put this one to work. Okay, so to start our project today, we're going to start with the background. And like I said, I watercolored my background, so I'm going to bring up my glass board here. I've got my water source and some brushes over here to the side. And I have a piece of Arches cold press watercolor paper. And I am going to tape that to my board. And it looks like my camera is a little crooked. Hold on one second and let me straighten that up. There we go. Okay, you will have to, this glass board that I use for painting, I also use it for alcohol markers, so it's a little rough here and there. This gets a lot of use in my craft room. And when I cut my paper for my background, I purposely made it a little bit bigger than what I need so that I have room to tape it down. If you tape your watercolor paper to a surface before you paint, it kind of helps control the curling up and the losing the shape. So it's always good if you can tape it down. Some people will use like a wooden clipboard or something like that. I like using this glass mat. Now, I do have a glass, you know, the big mat, like the Tim Holtz big glass mat, and I like using that, but I'm kind of messy, and I like to keep that one a little cleaner. Okay, so here is my tint palette for today, and I'm going to use some watercolor, some liquid watercolors. And I like these because they're a little more vibrant than using like the Zig watercolors. If that's all you have, it'll certainly work. It'll just have a little bit of a more pale background. So I'm going to start by dripping some of this into my palette here. And for some reason, my yellow one's a little bit clogged. I had trouble getting this out the other day, so I'm just going to pour a little bit in. All right. And now I have the Concord and Ninth watercolor Clover. And you can use any watercolors that are on the market. And I'm going to put that one right here. And then this one, I believe, this is a Brutus Monroe one that came in their Halloween kit. And the color is called Eye of Newt. So I don't know that this is always available, but I have it, so I'm going to use it. And it has a little more of a turquoise look to it. And there we go. All right, so now that I have the water in my, or the color in my palette, I'm just going to spritz it to add some water in there. All right, so now the fun begins. I'm going to take a large brush and I am just going to get my paper nice and wet. And this is the same brush I used last night, so it does have a little bit of the green still in it, but that's okay because we're going to be using those same colors. So I'm just going to get my paper nice and saturated. Okay. I forgot to grab a paper towel again. It seems to be a habit with me, but I'm going to start out with this green right over here. And we're just going to add, oh, look at that beautiful. See what I mean by more vibrant? Yeah, you just get, and I'm just going to add swatches of this along my paper. Oh, that's so fun. I love it. The color's just so bright. Now I'm rinsing out a little bit of that green from my brush. And now I'm going to pick up some of that yellow. And I'm just going to add some swatches of yellow into my overall design here. Okay. And I'm just going back and forth, letting those colors just kind of mix. And now I'm going to bring in a little bit of that turquoise, and I think I'm going to start kind of down on the other end. Get some of that vibrant down there. All right, so now that we have it this far, I am going to come in with my heat gun, and I'm sorry there's no way to do this on video without the sound, so it won't take very long at all, and I am going to put it on the lower setting, but I'm just going to help this dry a little bit so that we can move on to the next step. And this doesn't take too awful long. You don't have to get it completely dry. You're just going to a little bit so you can add the next layer on top. You're basically going to dry it enough so that your layers don't mix. You want the next layer to lay on top of this layer instead of blending in. And if you look across the paper, you can kind of tell when it's dry enough. That ought to do it. All right, so now I'm going to come back in with some of my colors and just add another layer of color on top of the one that I just did. I want to get a little more of that yellow and teal color. I feel like I have quite a bit of the other green color. All right, I think we're looking pretty good there. We're getting a little bit of mixture there. Okay, I think I'm happy with this, so we're just going to dry that one more time. Now, if you're using like a zig or a less vibrant green, you may have to layer your colors 2 or 3 times. But because I'm using this liquid watercolor, it's going to come really, you know, vibrant. So I don't have to layer it too many times. Right, so I'm just going to dry this a little bit, and we're going to move on to the next step. That's not completely dry, but I think I can show you this next part even with it being a little bit wet. Oh, so the next thing I'm going to do is grab a splatter brush, and I'm going to have to grab a paper towel. Hold on one quick second. There we go. All right. Here are some, oops, it goes this way, some paints that are in different shades of gold and the pearly white down here. And there's a name for these, but I threw away the packaging, and I cannot for the life of me remember what those are called. So if you remember the name of these, pop it in the comments. It starts with a T, and I can't remember. It just escapes me. I need to look it up online. Every time I use them, I'm like, I forgot. So if you do know the name of these, throw that in the comments. They're fantastic if you like splattering with gold, which is what we're going to do. So I just used my spritzer bottle to spritz it right into the tray. And now I'm going to pick up the darkest one first with my splatter brush, and I'm just going to splatter that on there. Now, because my watercolor is not completely dry, you're seeing a little bit of mixture. See how that water is moving that paint? That's because it's not completely dry. And for this sample, that's totally okay. You're still going to see the gold color when it all dries, but you're also going to see some of these splash marks where it has moved the color. When I show you my original, you'll see that I let it dry completely before I did the splattering. All right, so that's basically what you do. You're going to splatter this with your gold. Let it dry completely. And once it dries completely, you're going to go ahead and die cut it with your Dragonfly Slimline die from Whimsy Stamps. So isn't that a beautiful background? Oh, it was fun. Now, I believe I also, on this one, I went back and splattered it with some of my Clover liquid watercolor just to give me some of those splashes of dark green. So that's another thing you can do. Now, when we splattered the wet one, we could have taken a paper towel and kind of lifted some of that ink, and that would have given you some more texture in there. So there's just lots of ways to kind of texture up your backgrounds, but I just think that is so fun. Now, to take this to even the next level, I cut myself a piece of green glitter cardstock to go underneath so that I can really see those beautiful dragonflies. Isn't that fun? I love that. All right, to attach my dragonfly piece to the glitter, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of double-sided adhesive because that will just grip this, the brand of glitter paper here. I don't know what it is, but it works better with score tape than with glue. There's some glitter papers on the market that work just fine with glue, but I find with this one, it just doesn't stick quite as well. So I'm going to put just a couple pieces in the body just to hold down the middle and go up all the sides. Now I trimmed my glitter paper to be the same size as my background here. And I'll measure that for you real quickly. The slimline die measures 8 1/4 in length and 3 1/4 in width. So we're just going to add our dragonfly piece. Often when I'm making backgrounds like this, I like to make several at once because once I have my glass plate out and I've kind of got my watercolors out, I like just create a whole bunch of them and then put them kind of in an envelope so that I have them ready to go the next time I want to use that. All right, there we go. It looks like I'm going to have to trim it just a tad because I got it off. All right. Okay, so now that I have my background done, I also trimmed a piece of red cardstock just to give me a nice background on my card, and I trimmed that to the full size of the slimline card. So my slimline card is, I'm going to go ahead and measure it just to make sure, but it's 3.5 by 8.5. So I measured the red piece to be that exact size. Let's go ahead and make sure that we got our orientation right. We're going to go ahead and glue this one down, and then just glue this one down so that we have a nice outline. Don't you just love that glitter paper back there behind on those dragonflies? As soon as I saw this die, I knew that that's what I wanted to do with it. So what I liked about this die also is it can go either direction. Because the dragonflies are kind of flying, you know, very randomly around this panel. You know, they're not all aiming one direction or the other direction. So, you know, you can have up and down ways, but even if you turned it sideways, you've still got dragonflies flying kind of different directions. So, you know, I think you could definitely get away with doing it, you know, because some of these are flying up, and so that would work too. So that was very thoughtful. Whoever designed it, you know, kind of gave you that option in there. I like it when a slimline die is like that, and I can use it in both directions. All right, now we're just gonna put that on, and we have our background completed. All right. I love how the yellows kind of show through back under there, and then you also have the teals along with that nice deep green. Fun background. Okay, let's set that aside, and we're going to move on to our stamps. All right, so I have stamped out my little scout here, my little girl camper, and I am going to color her with Olo markers today. So I have pulled out several Olo markers, and I will tell you the colors as I go. Now the difference with Olo markers from other markers is the ink comes out at a very fast rate. They are called continuous flow markers, so you don't want to hold them down coloring with them for a long time, because just as soon as that tip touches the paper, ink is going to start coming out. So you want to keep moving. Okay. If you don't keep moving, you'll find that you have like a hopefully it won't happen to us, but if it does, I'll demonstrate it for you. You'll get like a blob of ink, and as you use them, you kind of learn how to avoid that happening. But I found when I first got these that was something I had to get used to compared to Copic markers. All right, so, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. For the base layer of her skin color, I used the 1-1, the OR11. And the way these are numbered for her hat, I'm using R06 and R05. And I'm going to start with the 06. And over here on this one side, I'm just going to make some brush marks out like this. And now I'm just going to go over all of that with my lighter color, the 05. See, it happened. Did you see how that came out real fast? I was about to say last night this was the color that did it to me, and sure enough, it did it again. I just had my pen held down that direction too long. So I'll go ahead and do her. Yep. I think my pen is just a little overfilled. So we're not going to use this one, but I do want to show you the other colors that I used. I used the Y86 and the Y87 to do her uniform. You can see her little uniform. So the speed that the ink comes out is very convenient in some instances, but you have to just get used to controlling it. For her shoes, I use the other end of the Y86. I use the Y87. For her hair, I use the Y25 and the Y27. So wherever I wanted shadow, I put the darker layer. And then I just came over with the lighter layer and went over the top of that. And that is how I did her blonde hair. For my R color, I used the R02 to give her some rosy cheeks. And then I used my yellow. I believe I used the 2-3 to color my flag and her little medals that are on her chest. And then for the last, I brought in the gray color, which is CG1, and the CG0. And the CG0, I just traced the enders of her eyes. And with the CG1, I did the pole for my flag. Okay, so now that we know all the colors that I used in doing that, and I sure apologize that came out fast. I almost didn't do this in the video because I was afraid of that happening because it did it twice last night. So, all right. Here she is, all finished and ready to go, but those are the colors I used. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is with our Happy Camper die set, this one right here, I'm going to cut all the pieces of the tent out of some craft cardstock. And then this one little triangle here, which is the door, I'm going to cut out of black, or I should say it's the inside. This one is the actual door in, and then this is the inside of the tent. Then the Happy Camper piece, I'm going to cut it 4 times out of red and layer them. And then I'm going to cut it 1 time out of yellow. And I'm going to layer these up to create a shadow background on my card. All right, before I go any further, I'm going to add just a little bit of ink to the edges of my tent. And I am going to do that. Let's see here. I've got a brown right here handy. I'm going to do that with the archival ink called Coffee. And I'm not going to use this particular piece because I'm going to use this one instead. But I'm just going to go over the edges to give some depth and definition to all my edges. And I do this anytime I use a die that makes a shape. I always go over my edges with some ink. All right. When I first opened this die, it took me a minute to kind of look at this tent to figure out how it went together. It's pretty easy once you kind of see it, but it took me just a second to see it. So, okay, now that I have this, we're going to go ahead and build our tent. It's not hard at all, and some of you may have seen it straight away, but it took me a minute. So, okay, to begin, I'm going to just take my glue, and I'm going to put the door onto the inside. And these little ends kind of just lined up right there with the ends of that. That's kind of how I placed it, was lining up that edge. Now this piece goes right along the edge right here. And I brought it just a little bit up so that we have a place to attach that. So I'm just going to add my glue right here along this right-hand edge. And then we're going to attach this side of the tent. Just like that. All right. And now this side of the tent, I'm going to bring right over here. So on this one, I'm going to add the glue here. And we'll just add this piece right on top. And I might have got my glue a little too far, but there we go. All right. So we almost have all of our pieces to complete our card. Now in the little girl camper, a lot of the sentiments were, you know, your numbers, birthday, way to go, thank you, you know, lots of great sentiments in here. But I really wanted to use my Happy Camper die. So none of these sayings really went together with my Happy Camper. So I went to one of my favorite stamp sets, and these ostrich here, I took the hey, hey, hey and the what's up. And so this is just kind of a hello, thinking of you kind of card that I can just send to somebody when I want to drop a note. And so I just stamped those out in black and made myself some sentiment strips. And we are ready to build our card. I forgot there was one more thing. I pulled this out of my scrap box just so I could have a little bit of grass down here on the end to set my tent on. And I have no idea, you know, there's tons of grass dies out on the market. Like I said, this was in my scrap box. I'm not sure what brand it is, but any kind of grass that you have, you could even just freehand make a little hill with your scissors, and that would work just fine. But I liked putting just a little bit of green down there to be a base for my tent. Just gonna add that. Now when I add it, I'm leaving the top edge without glue because I'm gonna tuck this tent down into the grass. And when I put this in there, I'm just going to lift it up and I'm going to let one side kind of hang off. And let's see, I need my pencil. I'm going to make myself just a little line right there where I want that hanging off, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that just straight up like that. Now I can add my tent. So I know a lot of my subscribers are some heartfelt creation people and people that have joined me from the work I have been doing with heartfelt creation. Let me know in the comments, have you heard of Whimsy Stamps, and do you use their products? It is a super fun company. I love so many of their stamps and dies. They'll just make you laugh out loud, and I love that. So I am going to pop up my little camping girl here. Just a little bit of foam. If you have, if Whimsy Stamps is kind of a new name to you and you haven't checked them out, I highly recommend going over to their website and just taking a look at their fun stamps and dies. They are really masters at Halloween. If you like making Halloween cards, then you definitely need to head over there and check out the incredible selection they have on fun Halloween. But they do lots more than just Halloween, but that is coming up before we know it. It'll be October, which I can't believe right now. It's summer has flown by, but before we know it, it's going to be time to be making Halloween cards, right? And our fall projects. Do you live your life by season of card making? I'm doing Easter before Easter. I'm doing Christmas before Christmas and Halloween before Halloween. You know, so it's like the holidays always get here a few weeks sooner for me. But if you want to have them ready in time to send, you have to do that, right? All right. Okay, she's finally ready to go. And I am just going to place her right here on the grass so that her little flag comes a little bit above the tent. Now my little what's up, I'm going to put right down here in this corner. You know, normally when I use colors red and green, I don't use them except during Christmas a lot of times because I feel like it makes a card look Christmassy, even if it's not. But on this one, like I don't get a Christmas vibe from this card at all. I really loved the little Scouts red highlights with the red background, and I just loved the green background. So that's a little unusual for me. I don't usually use these colors together except at holiday time. So I'm just gonna layer these by offsetting the happy. Whoops, get hold of it. Just a little bit so that that has a shadow coming from it. And I chose to put my shadow up and to the left. You can of course shadow that however you want to. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the camper. And when you have word dies, this is just kind of a fun way sometimes to bring in that other color. Because she has the little yellow flag, I kind of wanted there to be, you know, just a little more yellow, and it helps my sentiment stand out a little more. Just giving that. Now I wanted to put this at kind of an angle on my card, and then the hey, hey, hey is going to be right up here. So let's go ahead and glue those down. Now, the watercolor background technique that we use to make this beautiful dragonfly piece, this watercolor technique, of course, would be fun to do with all kinds of backgrounds, whether they're slimline or A2, floral, or just any kind. You know, it would be a fun technique. So I love this die. I encourage you to go over and check those out, but you can also enjoy this technique with products that you have on hand. Whoops, I forgot the hey, hey. Let's put that on. So, hey, 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 happy camper, what's up? There you go. I really love this project, and it's always fun when you win a door prize, when you can take that home and put it to use in your craft room. So again, I had such a lovely time at the workshop. Let me switch cameras here. There we go. I had such a lovely time at the workshop. I just couldn't wait to get home and use all the fun products that I came home with. So I have titled this particular video, whoa, my camera went wonky. I have titled this particular video as Whimsy Wednesday, and I'm going to be maybe once or twice a month throwing these in along so that I can showcase some of the great products that I came home with. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, continue to create for the fun of it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.